Be honest. I want to make sure she is played, but a lot also I just want to make sure that she doesn't come in. I want my peace.
You also want to make sure that World War III doesn't start in your house.
Exactly. And so,
but that's a good attitude. That's a good attitude.
That's what God expects.
Exactly. That's what He
That's
expects.
part of
Exactly.
and you kind of seek peace actually in the house. So if I can do it, So, just continuing our conflict, I think one of the issue we experience even in our marriage has to do with, I think there are two actually. One of them was finance and sex. I think finance, both of them was just huge. It's just huge. Finance, I think it was more so because as a man, I was the one in charge of most of the finance, and I was kind of like, hey, if there is something that's not right, she wasn't really handling most of the stuff, so she would trust me a lot of stuff. I'll be the one kind of deal with it. And I'm kind of like, I didn't want to show that sometimes, hey, I'm making a mistake, that things are not going right, kind of hide some stuff. In a sense, I also looking at her in a sense where, she keep on shopping, always shopping, all the shoes downstairs. I mean, there's shoes in this house everywhere. There's shoes, garage, basement, living room, bathroom, there's shoes everywhere.
Always need shoes.
And so, those are the conflict that we kind of have to deal with. How the finance, how do we control that? We have a budget and we have to make sure we spend. And even when you go somewhere, don't keep on spending. Like, hey, it's just ATM, and then you don't even know how much we have in the account before we're like, oh, we don't have anything. And she's not going to ask us, she was like, hey, I was trying to swap the car and it didn't go through.
It didn't go through.
And it declined. I was like, and luckily now I'm having money in the saving. I have a little bit in the checking. Yeah. So when it declined, I'm like, it declined. Yeah, it declined. Okay. I don't know if you guys experience those kind of conflict.
How do you deal with financial conflicts?
I want, since we don't have knowledge, I won't want to address it. The finance,
I
want to
I
address
think the financial conflict is there. I mean, some of the experiences that you share, we've also gone through those.
Like which one?
No, the shoes. But I will say this: in the very beginning of our marriage, it was harder. Carlos is laughing, but it was. Right now, I think my wife is at a good place where even if she has a credit card or the debit card, she's very mindful about spending. Where maybe 15 years ago, maybe that would have not been the case. I think growing and through just desires and things that are not becoming as important. For example, like now, before I could go in the mall and go and pick up everything, right? Now I can go and I know I like this, but I'm not buying anything. I'm going home with empty-handed. So it takes a lot to get to that stage where you're not so materialistic and you're not wanting. And I think we're kind of almost at the same place. Sometimes you even feel guilty to buy something that feels like it's too expensive. I mean, I can afford it, but do I need it? So getting to that place, I think, has been a great journey.
Wow.
Did you have to kind of sit down and like, hey, let's evaluate. We're having a problem with our finance, the way we deal with the finance, the way we see it, eyes to eyes. And
I think for us, not so much. I don't remember a day where we actually sat down. I think it just kind of happened that we got to that place where we just started seeing that the more important things that we both need. I think with time, as long as the rent's paid, the lights are on, food's on the table, gas in the car, and we're giving to church, giving even outside of church. I think those were just kind of like the main things,
Wow. Okay. Another thing is when it comes to finance, some couples don't agree on how to manage the money, that they choose to even separate accounts. Like the woman has an account, the husband has his own account. What do you think about, I know each couple is different. In our case, we have a joint account, but we also have a completely separate account. And like you say,
account.
The she account. Well, but he's still aware of what's going on in the she account. He's aware of how much come in, how much is there, how much went out. We are open about it, but that allows us to not touch into the share account which pay for all the bills, mortgage, lights, school fees, and all the stuff. And sometimes we rely on the she account to do the, go out for dinner or the little pleasure of life. We will use the she account. But some people are totally against it. Some people think that we should have one joint account and
My
that's
money. Her money.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's how they say it, my money versus her money. So what do you guys think about how you guys deal with it? How do you, what is working for you?
What has worked for us, and like you said, every couple is different. What we've always had a joint account, and we've always put our money together. And we were talking about kind of a little bit, family can influence you in good and bad ways. That's something I always saw in my parents. Actually, I didn't always see it, but I remember when they transitioned over to a joint account, and I realized that my mom, and my dad were buying us more things and we're doing more with their money. So that's something we discussed prior to getting married, and we agreed. So it's worked for us, and it's worked really well. But I know people, but I think in my sense, I don't agree when people have completely separate accounts. Like if you have a joint account and you have a separate account, but on the side, that's okay. But when you're completely trying to hide what you have from your spouse, then what are you trying to,
But do you think that people have separate accounts because they're trying to hide? Can it be that, like at the beginning, I'm doing much, much better. I used to be bad. I had bad money. Yes, I was bad. So instead of continuously going to negative in the account, it was best for us but it was, like I say, it knew exactly how much was in my account, how much came in, when the money was coming in. I wasn't hiding my shoes. Well, at some point I'd say it. But exactly. But it knew, we had separate account just to save the peace, or because having one joint account became a great source of conflict because I was just overspending, and before you know, you go slide and yes, a card declined because you overspent. But do you think that people separate their account necessarily because they're trying to hide? Don't you think that sometimes for certain couple, it's the way of solving an issue?
It might be. Like I said, for us, what we said, okay, we want to obviously be responsible, give and pay our bills, but we also want to save. So what we've done is, since the beginning, we've had a joint account, we pay our bills, we put some money in savings when we can, and we have spending money. We literally go to the bank, take out, and this is what you have. And if you choose wisely. If you're gonna buy a pair of shoes, go, and if you're gonna spend the whole, don't ask me for money because this is what we have, So that's something that has worked for us. But I don't know. It's worked for us. That's how it's worked for us. And in the finance area, the only struggles we really had is trying how much, what can we do to save more? But it's really worked for us. But it doesn't necessarily mean it can work for other people, but it has worked for us. Yeah.
Well, I have two opinions about what what Lorette said about the separate account. One, I think it can work, but the only way I see that it can work is if I have the information what's going on in your account. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that will work because, see, marriage, and let's go back to Christ. Marriage is it's one flesh. So why would I have an account that my wife doesn't have permission or doesn't have any information about it? Why? It's not part of who I am. Mm-hmm. It defines who I am, who we are, and who you are in Christ. Right now, if you have a problem of spending, and if you want to have another account, yes, it's fine. But let me know at least what's going on, right? And I can have access to it. I think I agree in that way. Now, I don't agree that if you have an account and I don't know what's happening, I don't know how much money you're putting into, and I know people do that. Why they do that? That's a huge question. That's a big question. Why? And the other thing we were talking about is, when it comes to money, I'm not as good as she is. I just get paid and it goes straight to the bank, and she pays the bills, and she's being good about it. She's being good about it. Yeah. And when we get paid, we put the money together, we pay what we need to pay, And like she said, we take our portion and say, okay, this is yours and this is mine. And I'm sorry, this is yours and this is mine. And you know, just take charge of what you're going to do and you know, be wise. And I think it works for us.
But see, that doesn't make you less of a man when you leave her in charge of the finances. Because sometimes men want to be the ones in charge of the finances, yet the woman's strength is managing finances. So I think recognizing strengths, like you recognize your weakness,
Yeah.
you can obviously say, okay, Emmanuel, you're in charge of this.
Yeah.
I had my weakness and it worked out good that maybe I outgrew it, but John's really good with finances. So I'm okay. I trust him with them.
Yeah, it's true. It's you just gotta know your weakness. And when we got married, he told me, he's like, I sometimes I don't have, I don't have money. I got paid and I would just go and spend it. Oh wait, I had to pay bills. Well, in my sense, we looked at our situations. So he said, this is how I am with money. And then I told him, well, I have my own job. I pay my bills. I love to shop, but I'm, so we figured, you know what? You're just better off dealing with the finance issue. So I think it's something that people are like, well, should you really talk about it before? You should, because it's gonna be a big part of its life. So, and if you didn't get a chance to talk about it before, it's never too late to sit down and look at what works for you.
Exactly.
So that's what I think.
And Tambo, you made a very good point. Like some men likes to be in charge, and just push the wife on the side. Like I'm the man, I make all the decision. It's me, my way, or the highway, and that's another great source of conflicts over there. So I think also recognizing couples each other's strengths and weaknesses, and when to she's your partner for life, so you should trust her to make some mistakes sometime, and just because I believe that's how we even develop ourselves in the marriage. And another thing that we would like to talk about is sex in the marriage, conflicts.
What's
All
that?
the men say,
just
yeah.
kidding.
No, a lot of people,
Is it for the sake conflict?
well,
or
that we can finally talk about this thing, because
Yes.
we don't talk about those things, especially in the Christian community. Nobody dares to tell people, look, I am frustrated with my sexual life. Especially women, we keep those things, because men will become cranky, they will have an attitude, they will just let you know that, hey, woman, something is wrong. So why do you think that sex, which is supposed to be a great thing, a gift from God, sometimes become a source of conflict in marriage? I'll start with Tambo. Go ahead. What do you think?
Well, like I said, I think men want it all the time. Maybe women not as much. I mean, well, maybe I
some
may be
women-
wrong.
some
There's some
women-
women that
some
want it
women
more
do
than the
it.
men,
It's the other way
right?
around.
But anyway, I think for the most part, it boils down to me selfishness. Boils down to us wanting for ourselves and our self gratification, and not really considering the other person for both parties, right? So if it's a woman, if I'm withholding it, it's really taking away from this guy something that's pleasurable that God already ordained for a married couple. And vice versa, if a guy is always wanting it, without even considering the times when I'm like, look, today I have a headache, and I really have a headache, not just saying it. Looking at that and saying, okay, maybe let's give it till tomorrow or 2 days later. What can I do to make it comfortable for you? What can I do to make it comfortable for you? I think it has to be a give and take. It cannot just be get, and selfishly just wanting it for yourself. Don't lust after your women, men. Love your women. Like Carlos said, if you love your wife, love is different from lust.
Yes.
Lust is when you see somebody and you just want to get with them right away. Love is like, hey, I love you. You're going to show it through the day, through the course of the day, nurture them, love them, and by the time you're getting to that time, they're not feeling like you just want them for the sex part. They know that you've been there consistently through the day. So.
I agree. Mara, do you want to add anything?
Well, I'm gonna be honest, and I go back to when they say men are like microwaves and women are like slow cookers. I don't want to go through the work. I don't want to cook for 8 hours and then that's a long time. It's work, and sometimes you're tired. I'm gonna admit it. I'm kind of lazy sometimes. I'm like, I don't. And it's funny because, let's be real, when you're going to get married, you're like, I'm going to be doing this every day. But then it kind of, it starts turning into something that you have every day. It's available. So you're like, I'll do it tomorrow. So I think that you got to find, again, things like, be like, you're not going to mark in the calendar, okay, this day we're going to have sex, this day we're not. But, and we're going to share something. Obviously, what I did, I recently, I was like, okay, you know what? The man obviously wants it. I'm withholding. So what I did, I made him a coupon book, and I said, this allows us to be spontaneous, but it also gives you the liberty, and I can't say no. So you know,
that's
so you
creative.
gotta find things that you gotta be
yeah.
creative.
Right.
You don't have to.
Where
like
can we
it's-
get that
Have you
coupon
been
book?
lucky with that?
I'm gonna start selling them. No, I'm just kidding.
Online.
Exactly. But you gotta find what you know. So I say I know how important it is, and so we have to find a happy medium.
Yeah.
So, but it is.
I think I like that idea. I think definitely there has to be balance.
Yes.
Yes.
So in terms of conflict, if there's a problem maybe in another area, right? In the marriage, there's a problem in some other area, and now at the end of the night, when the day is over, we all have to go back to bed, right? And now the man might kind of ignore what has happened during the day, or the woman might have ignored what had happened during the day, and now the sex part comes in, and then there's more conflict. It's adding to the conflict maybe that was already there in the beginning. So I think if we call ourselves a Christian family, then Scripture is clear that the husband and the wife, the wife cannot, the body does not belong to yourself, right? So we have to kind of be mindful of that and know that even though we had conflict, and sometimes I've heard so many stories, and that's one way how conflicts can be resolved. Even in
Right. I got
conflicts are resolved. Even in the heat of conflict, conflicts can be resolved.
When in Malawi, the tradition is that when you're getting married, then you have this adult women or woman, whoever comes and sits you down and talks to you. And so this is one of the things that they taught me. They said, throughout the day, don't argue with your husband. Don't allow yourself to get into conflict with him. But right after, when everything is done,
That's when you bring
that's the
out
best
everything?
time to talk to a man, and that's when they're really most receptive. Otherwise, when they're still at that edge of wanting something, and then you are like, okay, let's start talking about maybe the kitchen, or maybe let's talk about what you left somewhere, it doesn't come across to them because they're just wanting that time to share with you. So let's also be mindful of that as women, and to know when to ask, when to have the resolution, conflict resolution. There's always a time for it, right?
That's true.
Oh, wow, that's,
Yeah,
that's
a good time is not when they come home from work. They probably do not want to hear
No,
you. So it's true. You got to find it, and it's true. You got to find the right moment, the right time for that.
wow.
Yep.
I think we this is really an important. I'm really excited about this conversation we had. Conflict is so important in marriage. I think while we were going to premarital counseling, there's one thing our pastor told us, and she said that marriage is a place of dying, and it's a dying place. And I start to think about it. It's where we kind of reveal through those conflict. It reveals really the nature, our true nature, and the things that we're struggling with, the things that are in me that I know. I thought I was a patient person until I met my wife. Then I realized, oh Jesus, I was pulling my hair. I don't have any hair. You see, that's what happened. And
Excuse you?
I was really pulling my hair out.
I'm not pulling his hair. Then
No.
it's
It's in good shape. Now the man enjoying the coupon stuff, so it's really enjoying it. That's why it's growing hair. And so this is the thing. And through conflict, I think this is how the Lord can allow us to grow and reveal about ourselves that are still imperfect. They need to be worked on if we are willing to work on those stuff. If we are willing to really change ourselves. And so part of the resolution is also to kind of change ourselves also. Once we change ourselves, we realize some of the issue can be resolved. And the other observation I made really while we talked is that most of the conflict that happen is just some
Basic stuff.
basic stuff.
the little things.
The little thing. I mean, the Bible said the little fox actually destroy the land. So those are the little things actually, but they explode into so bigger issue and to the point of divorce. But if we have a chance to kind of discuss them and resolve them easily and find a way of resolving this issue and create a way like Temple say about, after the man has been in heaven and down. Then
When you've both been in heaven,
We back from the worship. The worship experience is
when you're in
ending.
worship and then you come down, then you discuss it. But I think people are
Yes.
open.
Angels all around the room.
Yeah, I think at that point you become one. You become one, and
You're
you
very
know,
alert and your mind is
alert
open and
you can discuss stuff.
everybody's happy.
That's
And
when the checks are signed.
Exactly.
yes,
I need some shoes.
about a new car.
Bought a new, yeah, exactly.
Okay. But I don't know if you guys want to just add one remark before we close.
Well, I just want to say sex is so good because God created that way.
Yes.
It's the only place where you connect yourself and become one flesh. And it's not only a physical connection, but it's a spiritual connection. You know, and God is so good. God knows what we really needed it when He said go and multiply. You know, He just didn't say that because of the child or many kids you're gonna have, but you know, I heard, and I'm gonna quote Bishop Darliston Johnson when he was teaching about. He said some great stuff, man. I mean, the things he told us that in that message, it was so great. You know, it got rid of just thinking about having kids. You know, I don't know if I should say this, but
Go ahead. Then the woman.
you know, the woman
on the
exactly. It wouldn't. There's a part of the woman body that it's only for pleasure. So why God create that part just for pleasure? When He said go and multiply, it's not only for kids; it's for our own pleasure. So God is so good because God is good. Sex in marriage is so good. So I think when we experiencing what's happening in the sex act, we experience how good God is.
right.
You know, that's if we can feel the love of God, I think that's that's a powerful expression of how God loves us. When we are up there and we feel that it's so that's how God is.
Amen.
The goodness of our good Father.
Everybody's gonna want to be his friend now.
I'm praying, you know, and I'm thankful that God created that for our own pleasure.
He did considered us
Yeah.
that we should have that. So
Yeah.
if I could add one little thing is it's very important to disassociate yourself from past experiences.
Oh yeah.
No, even not just past, but even present. Be mindful of what you're bringing into your marriage bed. Things that you're watching on TV, that's not the reality. Because sometimes expectations are off. And we're wanting our spouses to become that thing that they can never become. So we have to be so mindful and to create our own godly union that is pleasurable, but within the context, what can I say? Context of a godly marriage, of godly, something that glorifies God, in other words. I know there's a worldly part, which pushes so much on so many pleasurable things that may look pleasurable. But when you try them, they really bring something else into the marriage bed. So let's also be mindful of that. As much as God gave us the liberty, but still, I think there's still borders and boundaries to that we have to make sure that we're protecting what God has freely given us.
Oh wow, guys, we are just getting started. Actually, we'll have an entire show on intimacy and marriage, in marriage. So thank you so much for coming tonight. It was so much fun. And we hope to continue this conversation outside of this. Please like our Facebook page, visit our website, thestandministry.com. And if you have any question, any suggestion, we are open and willing to hear what you have to say. We can wait to hear your stories. We can wait to hear your experience. Until then, God bless you.
Thank you for watching this episode of The Stand Ministry, Marriage God's Way. We hope you were blessed.
And we invite you to connect with us on Facebook, YouTube, or visit our website, thestandministry.com. Leave us a comment. We'd like to hear from you. And until next time, I'm Didier.
And Christelle,
And this is The Stand Ministry.
stay blessed.